we're on. Great. All right. Hello, everyone. We're just checking to make sure everything is working. Patrick, are we on there? Yeah, you gotta love IT, eh? All right. We're just checking to make sure everything is actually loading up live. The last thing I want to find out is I've just talked for the next hour and a half or so. Hopefully, it's less than an hour and a half, and find out that actually it didn't even work. So I think it's showing that there's an indication that you're on there, but we've got two eyes. I think we're on. Excellent. Yes. Okay. Right. Welcome everyone to our Facebook Live event, 15 pounds healthier in 15 weeks. It's great to be able to really connect to everyone, especially in this time where we've just been so starved of connection. So I'm sorry it is virtual. I was hoping that we could do a live event, but hey ho, that's kind of how the dice rolls, hey? I think let's just really get right into it. I've got a couple of questions just I want to ask you on, just to get you thinking. How many of you seriously feel that you are carrying at least an extra 5 pounds of extra weight, unnecessary extra weight? Right? I would imagine that's probably most of us, possibly. And how many of you think that lockdown hasn't been particularly helpful for any weight loss programs that you were hoping to embark on? I think probably quite a few of us as well. And then I just want you to maybe think, how many of you feel that your extra weight that you're carrying is now beginning to even have an impact on your confidence, even your health, and possibly even your quality of life? Right. Now I want you to imagine living 70, 80, or 90 years of quality health. Imagine a predictable level of health in the next 10, 20, or 30 years, where you'll know exactly what you'll be doing, loaded with energy and vitality, basically doing whatever you want, whenever you want, whether that be being an active mom or dad, maybe it's just being able to continue your favorite sports or hobbies or pastimes or activities or outdoor pursuits, or maybe it's just as simple as just being able to look good and feel great, or being able to just fit into those pair of jeans that you haven't been able to fit into for the last 2-3 years. Who here wants that? Right, okay. So, well, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Neil Thompson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the clinic director of Align for Life, the Isle of Man's Family Wellness Clinic. And firstly, I just want to thank you for joining me online tonight, because success is always reserved for the action taker. Right? The fact that you're online tonight and taking, an hour or so out of your time to be here means that you are really committed to trying to take action on this. And hopefully tonight is going to really equip you with some great strategies on how to really win the battle on losing weight. Okay, so 3 main things that we're going to cover tonight. Okay, in a few minutes we're going to start to learn about really the 5 top dieting lies. There are loads of them out there, and we're going to cover the 5 top dieting lies. We're also then going to talk about the most important system in your body that regulates everything in your body, including your body fat. And then we're going to also talk about practical yet crucial strategies that's going to help you bust through any weight loss plateaus that you seem to have hit. And I know there's many of us in that category, and I really am confident that these are going to really help you a lot. I've done a lot of extra studying on this, obviously to prepare for this, and certainly some of the content is taken from Ari Whitten, who heads up the Energy Blueprint. He's an amazing guy, so if any of you really want a lot of great tips on health, in particular energy is his big thing, but he's covering all aspects now. He's based in the States now, but he's got a huge following. Definitely I'd recommend Ari Whitten, the Energy Blueprint. He's a really, really great guy, and you couldn't get a more authentic, genuine person who's just genuinely trying to help people, and because of his own personal story. All right, so I think maybe I always find that I always get a little bit more out of the message when I understand a little bit more about the messenger. I'll be honest, I've probably traveled around the world to and attended over 100 different conferences and seminars in the last probably 20 years or so, studying the lifestyle strategies of some of the healthiest people on the planet. And I definitely always do get so much more out of the message when I've got a bit of a background about who is really giving that talk. So if it's all right, I'll just very briefly try and just give you just a very quick synopsis as to how I've come about giving this presentation tonight to you. So I grew up in Southern Africa. I graduated in Durban with a master's degree in technology in chiropractic, which is a 6-year master's degree. So for those of you who are wondering how we get the title doctor, that's why. And once I graduated, I had an incredible opportunity to travel to the west of Ireland, where I was given an incredible chance to run a very, very busy practice there in the west of Ireland in Galway. And I was there for about 2 years, and we were getting some really good results to the point that it ended up becoming the fastest growing clinic in Southern Ireland. But I was becoming very frustrated in that the results that we were getting were often very short term. And when I mean results, I don't just mean back pain and neck pain. You know, we were trying to improve people's overall health. And as a result, I decided, you know what, I wanted to start tackling things differently. I wanted to go very much along a more holistic approach. So I left that practice and started my own practice, and within 2 years, you know, we were seeing over 200 people a week, helping hundreds of families. And I had embarked on a lot of postgraduate programs in the States. So I'd done a lot of studying across in the States on wellness, and also in particular long-term spinal and posture correction, and how wellness can fit into all of that. So I spent really the next 5 years or so doing a lot of postgraduate studies. And the practice really benefited from that. We then had a great opportunity to move to the Isle of Man. My wife's brother had moved to the Isle of Man, and he persuaded us that it was sunnier than the Republic of Ireland. I don't know if he was true there, but anyway, it was close. It definitely is sunnier. I wouldn't say it's sunny, but it's sunnier. And we moved over to Isle of Man, and it was amazing because it was such a great place to raise a family. So that's how we ended up here in the Isle of Man. So the Align for Life was founded in 2009, so just over 10 years ago, and it's really grown from strength to strength since then. I think over the last 10 years, we've probably seen now over 4,000 people. We've helped hundreds of families, and it's really been an incredible opportunity to be able to be integrally involved in helping people get their quality of lives back. I mean, I think our mission statement pretty much summarizes it all up. You know, it's transforming lives, equipping families, revolutionizing healthcare. And obviously, weight loss is a huge part of that. And we know there's so many health problems linked to that. And so this is why I wanted to be able to bring this presentation to you all tonight. All right, so I think let's get right into the nitty-gritty of it. And I do apologize. I get the fact that, you know, you can't really see the screen well. The good thing is you're not going to really need to look at it too often. Everyone falls asleep when they look at screens anyway. So hopefully I'm going to be able to share to you in a much better way, just speaking directly to you. So really, what is your objective when you're trying to lose weight? And you know, for many people, it's because they want to just simply look better. You know, they want to lose weight to look better so they can fit into those pair of jeans that they've been desperate to fit into for the last 5 years, right? Which often, though, in and of itself, don't think that that's anything to scoff at, because it really builds a person's confidence, and that's hugely impactful to your overall mental well-being. So for some people, it's just to look better. Some people, it's to avoid disease. And I'm just going to turn this off for now, because this means you probably can see me better when it's off. It also will help, for many people, they know it'll help improve their immune system. And I think this is hugely important at the moment now, where we are seeing, you know, massive problems in the world because of suppressed immune systems. And also, it's going to help increase energy, performance, capacity, function. right? And those are things that people are really chasing after as well. And certainly, obviously, given the situation with coronavirus as well, we do know that coronavirus is particularly threatening for those people who are carrying more weight, amongst other things like high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. So I think taking control of our weight and getting to our optimal body weight is going to be hugely important moving forwards now. And I think if you're someone who's on the fence of thinking, you know what, is it really that important, and you kind of were just watching this because you were just intrigued, please hang in there, watch, because you're going to learn some amazing stuff that's going to really transform your life, and it absolutely is going to help reduce your risk of disease in general. Now, yes, there's no studies to show yet that losing weight is going to reduce your risk of coronavirus, but we know it's going to help with all viral infections. But that aside, it's going to certainly reduce your risk of things like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and the big killers that are really affecting us at the moment. Okay, so healthy is really the new sexy, because there's so many people now concerned about, how we look. And obviously, we're only going to look really at our best if we're truly healthy. And so if we're focusing our weight loss so we can get healthy, that's probably the best goal that we can use to motivate us. All right. So really, what is health? What is optimal health? It's improved function, improved performance, and obviously healthy appearance. So look good, feel great, function even better. And who here wants that? Yes, I definitely do. So we all want to be trying to aim towards a state where we're all just performing more optimally, and then we can be the best that we can be. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. Be the best version of you, or at least, if you think that's too far a goal at the moment, even just a better version of you for now. Right? And then you'll see the benefits that has, and then you can move on to the next stage. So often these things are very much staged, right? I mean, generally when you talk about weight loss, there's kind of 6 phases. There's phase 1 to phase 6. Phase 6 is your super athlete, and your phase 1 is a person who's obese. And each stage is going to have different challenges, and it's going to require different things that you're going to need to implement in terms of how you eat, move, and think. All right? And we're not going to be able to cover all of it tonight, but we're going to certainly cover the most important things. All right, so hang tight. So the bottom line is, though, is fat equals sick. And I think we need to use that word, because I think for so long now we've been so careful of being PC, but the reality is if we're carrying extra fat, and I put myself in that category as well, because I know after lockdown I probably put on an extra pound or two. It is actually going to drive us towards disease and sickness. So we've got to try and make that 180-degree turn and start to head the other direction. So why is it then that, I mean, everyone knows that being overweight is not healthy, and everyone is trying, well, not everyone, but so many people are trying to actually lose weight. But then what are people doing that's resulting in it not working? Because the bottom line is what people are currently doing is just not working. And the question we need to ask is why? Why is what we're currently doing not working? There's a couple of reasons for that. I think too many diets are fad diets, meaning that they are too challenging and difficult to follow. And here's probably one of the most important rules you're going to learn tonight. If it's not a long-term habit, it is worthless for long-term weight loss. So if you decide to go on the grapefruit diet where you eat 6 grapefruits every day, that's not sustainable, because you can't continue to do that. So if you want long-term weight loss, we really need to be following a program that is a long-term solution and really is a long-term change in our lifestyle. We need to be asking, what would I need to be doing on a daily basis that would mean that weight loss would be inevitable? So what do I need to be doing on a daily basis that would mean that weight loss would be inevitable? And that's really what we kind of think about. And it's also got to be something that you feel is not just this uphill struggle and strain, because then you're not going to be able to hang in there for long enough. basically that means the diet that will work the best for you is the one that you can stick at for the long term. You've got to like doing the weight loss program that you're doing, because if you don't like it, you're not going to be able to stick at it. And so there are many weight loss programs out there. There's the Atkins, there's the paleo, there's the innate diet. There's so many different diets out there. I mean, there's literally hundreds. And yes, a lot of them are actually no good and are rubbish. But there are some which all have some merit to them. And you've got to find out the one that works best for you, the one that you're going to be able to keep working at. And I'm just going to give you some ideas and pointers as to some options that you can look at doing, and really just tie in the common threads that all of those diets that do work have in common, so that then you can then decide from there. Is that fair enough? All right. Okay, so if you've got to like doing the weight loss program, you choose if you want to maintain it. Willpower won't work. You're human. Remember, if you're hungry and fatigued on the weight loss plan that you're on, you're going to feel horrible, okay? And you're fighting against biology. We've got to work with biology, not against it. Okay, so this is one maybe graph I do want to show you on the screen. So I'm going to try and step back so you can see the screen better. Hopefully the computer will focus on the screen more then. So what you've got here is, this says effortless, and this says constant suffering. This is an arrow pointing towards obesogenic habits that cause you to become obese. This is an arrow pointing towards fat loss promoting habits. Now what we are finding is that people who are in this quadrant here, i.e. they are doing fat loss promoting habits which are by and large effortless, these are the people who achieve lasting weight loss. That is the key here, guys and ladies. It's lasting weight loss. All right, we've got to be aiming for lasting weight loss, which means we've got to be in this quadrant. It's got to be effortless, and it's got to be obviously legitimate fat loss promoting habits. This group here, these are people trying to lose fat, but 95% fail because it's too much effort. It's constant suffering. They're going to really struggle to sustain at that, and that's why they yo-yo. All right, which is why Weight Watchers is full of repeat customers, because no one can stick at it. Okay. All right. So most people trying to lose fat fall in this category. These are the people who, yeah, it's effortless, but these are people who are overweight. So, they're not even really trying to do anything to lose weight, and they're just kind of going with what's easiest. And obviously these ones here then, these are people who are trying to lose weight using misguided and ineffective strategies. People who are trying to lose weight that are using misguided and ineffective strategies. Basically stuff that doesn't work, all right? There's no quick fixes. There's no magic pill that's going to suddenly cure your weight loss challenges. Okay, so we've got to all be aiming for this, all right? And I'm going to show you how that is so important and how you can start to do that, because really the way you need to move, the trick to trying to move into that category where weight loss becomes effortless is we've got to start to change our mindset about it. We've got to start thinking, how do I rephrase this? We've really got to try and retrain our brains for healthy behaviors. We've almost got to start to have a healthy obsession type approach to it. It's what they call a healthy obsession model. It's what most athletes have. They have an obsession about their training or whatever it is, because they are so enjoy being fit and actually then performing so well that now becomes more of a reward than just scoffing down a whole bunch of donuts or pizza. They love feeling so good. They love having so much energy. And I can certainly say from my perspective, and I think just for those of you who are listening here, I was very blessed to have been introduced to really these kind of strategies first with Dr. James Chestnut way back in 2006, where I actually weighed about 10 kgs heavier than I do today. And as a result of that one weekend seminar, within probably 2-3 months, I'd lost 10 kgs. Certainly within 6 months, I'd lost 10 kgs. And the key thing is that it wasn't an effort. And that's why it worked. And that's why, whatever, 14 years later, I still only weigh the same. I still have kept that 10 kgs off. I haven't put the weight back on. Because I've literally just changed my lifestyle because I rewired my brain. Our behaviors effectively are a result of our belief systems. So let me use this as an example. How can you rewire your brain? Probably thinking, well, that's fine, Neil. How on earth do I do that? I just love all that stuff, all the junk food too much. It's not easy for me to just give that up. The trick is this. Well, there's really two tricks. Firstly, use this as an example. Imagine I've got a chocolate bar, and it's your favorite chocolate bar. And if I offer you that chocolate bar, you're going to struggle to say no, and you're going to probably scarf it down very quickly. But if instead, and let's imagine it was the chocolate bar that you absolutely loved, and as you ate it, that velvety texture and that's rush that comes to the head, and that just the sweetness in your mouth, and just it's just literally like velvet going down your mouth. Then what you're focusing in on is just that instant gratification, and it's giving you that essentially a hit in the brain. It's actually causing your brain, all those pleasure receptors in your brain, to start firing off unbelievably, which is why it's so addictive, some of the stuff. And what I'm saying instead, though, is if I took that same chocolate bar and then I offered it to you, and in front of you laced it with arsenic, and then I offered you that same chocolate bar, would you take it? And probably the answer would be no, I'd imagine. Let's just turn this off for a second. You would probably turn it down. And the reason you'd probably turn it down is because you've literally seen arsenic being poured onto it. So I changed your belief system now about that chocolate bar. Instead of now thinking, well, it's just going to maybe make you put on a bit of weight and I might make your kids a little bit fidgety, you're now thinking that could kill me. I've totally changed your belief system about the chocolate bar. So if we want to change our behaviors, we have to first start with changing our belief systems. We're going to have to really start to be accurate with our thinking about what's really going to happen when I eat that pizza or when I eat that donut. Instead of just thinking about the quick fix that we get as we're consuming it, we need to start thinking more about how we're going to feel after it, and certainly even more so the next day. So, and also I think we've got to start to be real with, when you consume large amounts of sugar and processed foods, which by the way are specifically engineered by these companies hire food engineers to make them taste really good so that you want to buy more because it's profitable. And what we've got to start to do, though, is we've got to start to try and override that sort of pleasure response in our brains by every time, like every day, if this is something that you're really serious about trying to do, is change your belief system about processed junk food because that's your weakness, then every day you've got to start to think, instead of thinking about how you're feeling during eating that treat food, you need to start thinking about what that treat food's really doing to you at a physiological level. So, it's going to increase my heart rate, it's going to increase my blood pressure, it's going to increase my chance of developing heart disease, stroke. It's going to make me more moody, it's going to make me more depressive, it's going to affect my sleep patterns, I'm going to have less energy, I'm going to start to have more digestive system problems, I'm more likely to start to get diabetes, I'm probably going to be at much greater risk of even things like cancer, or even things like other stress-related disorders, so you've got things like autoimmune disorders, right? These are all fueled by chronic inflammation, and much of that food, okay, is going to create huge amounts of chronic inflammation. So we've got to start thinking every day and do this as a challenge. I'm going to challenge you every day for 30 days. For 30 days, write on a piece of paper. On the left-hand side of the piece of paper, you're going to write all the things that you say to yourself to justify why you should have that chocolate bar or that pizza. That should be a short list. Okay, oh yeah, I really deserve it. I've had a tough day, or I have, I've worked really hard. I've just done a really good workout. I deserve to actually now have a treat. That's a common one. Or maybe it's, I just feel really down and I actually deserve something. I just need something to pick me up. Whatever it is, just write down on the piece of paper, on the left-hand side of the piece of paper, all the excuses basically that you say to yourself when you're partaking in that unhealthy food. And then I want you to, on the right-hand side of the page, write down all the things that are actually going to happen when you start to eat that chocolate bar. So, for example, it's going to increase my chances of heart disease, blood pressure, stroke, cancer. All those things I just listed there increase my chances of inflammatory problems, and that could even overflow into autoimmune diseases, and so forth. And the more specific you get, the better. It's going to make me more tired. I'm probably going to be more cranky with my kids. I'm probably going to actually, maybe my sex drive is going to drop. I'm probably going to find that I'm not going to be sleeping as well. I'm not going to be able to continue with playing the sports I love because I'm going to start to develop arthritic problems because of the extra weight that I'm now starting to carry. And suddenly you now start to make this very real. If you want to keep skiing, or if you want to keep playing your golf, or if you want to keep doing your Pilates and your aerobics and your gym classes, or just going for walks, or just being able to make sure that when you're 80 years old, you can actually just walk to the spa and you're not having to be in a wheelchair or having to hobble with a cane or one of those walkers, then these are the kind of things that you need to really start focusing in on when you're tempted to eat the chocolate bar or the pizza or the donut. So that's your homework. This one thing is get a piece of paper. On the left hand side, all the excuses you give to yourself. On the right hand side, be as scientific as you can about all the things that it's actually going to do to you. And that right hand page now should be really long. And all I want you to do for the next 30 days is read that right hand side of the page every day for 30 days. And what you're doing is you're creating a new synaptic connection in your brain that is helping you move towards healthier behaviors, because it's going to start to change your belief system. Behaviors will not change unless the belief system changes, and it needs about 30 days consecutively of thinking about these things. And the best thing to probably do is actually read it out loud into your recording as an audio on your phone, and then play back that audio every day on your way to work. List all those things that chocolate bar is going to do that's damaging, and all the things that you're going to miss out, all right, because you're not actually choosing the healthier option, whether that be the apple or whatever it is. Okay? All right. So, and if you do that every day for 30 days, you will create a really strong synaptic connection in the brain, which will now become your default. And this is the key. Your belief system is only going to change when your default pattern changes. To that of, oh, I just got to have that pizza, I'm just feeling rubbish, I need a pick-me-up, to, man, I really want to be able to run, walk, ride, swim, and have all this energy and do all this cool stuff if I don't have that. And I want to make sure I sleep well tonight, and I want to make sure I have lots of energy tomorrow. When you start focusing on that, now it's easier to turn down the chocolate bar or the donut or the pizza. All right, so that's just one trick you can do. And essentially, if you get to day 28 or day 29 and then you forget to do it, guess what? You're going to have to go to day 1 again and start again. Do it every day for 30 days until you've mastered it. And then you'll find that you'll be amazed when you get offered that pizza. you probably actually will think twice, and you probably will actually go the other way. Now, yes, there might be the odd time where you'll still have a treat, but it's what you're doing most of the time is what's counting. It's not what you do occasionally on a birthday or a special event. All right. Okay, so it's got to become effortless, which means you've got to change your belief system. We need to start to develop healthy obsession type thinking, and that's how to do it. So really, fat is a symptom, all right, of dysfunction within the body. And in particular, it's a symptom of dysfunctional body fat, a dysfunctional body fat set point. It's not just a case of we're consuming more calories than we're burning. Let me repeat that. That is way too simplistic. It is not just because we are consuming more calories than we are burning. That is just the tip of the iceberg. There's much more to it than that. What's really happening is because we are overweight, we're carrying extra fat because it's a reflection of the fact that we have a dysfunctional body fat set point, which is controlled really by hormones and your nervous system. Okay, so our body fat set point system is affected by a chronic hormone imbalance. Extra body fat is a symptom of chronic hormone imbalance. Hormones and enzymes regulate fat storage, and you must regain your hormone balance through specific lifestyle changes and choices that directly impact your hormone balance if you ever wish to solve your weight issues and health issues. So we need to get that hormone balance back again if we're really going to get victory over this. It's not just about eating less and exercising more. So really, we have a situation where when we start to put on weight, it's as a result of a perfect storm. You know, because your body's fat points, body fat set point doesn't just change easily. You know, and you may have noticed that you seem to be on the same weight for ages, right? Whether it be too high or too low. You know, and it's because the body fat set point changes because we get a total disruption in our hormonal balance. Because we're eating toxic deficient food choices, and I think we kind of can understand why. So our foods are not only toxic, but they're deficient in really what we need. But also there's an energy imbalance. Yes, we are maybe much more sedentary for the amount of calories that we're consuming. So sedentary life and excess calorie. But also it's because there's chronic social stress involved in the equation as well, and our sleep patterns or lack of sleep and dysfunctional circadian rhythms have a huge impact as well, and chronic exhaustion. So sleep is very much a huge part of it, and so is stress. And all these things, together with toxic foods and deficient foods and a sedentary lifestyle, create the perfect storm, the perfect hormonal storm that will cause your body fat set point to become dysfunctional. And this is why you'll notice if ever you've been on shift work, your health is deteriorated and you put on a lot of weight, or you've ended up having to do a lot of traveling across time zones, you'll notice that. Because you're eating a lot of junk food, it's toxic, it's deficient, you're not sleeping properly, it's stressful, and these are all the things that create the perfect storm. So how to regain your control of your hormones? We need to first start to assess our food quality, quantity, food rhythms, activity levels, social stress, and sleep patterns. So the top 5 dieting lies are: number 1, weight problems run in my family. This is probably the most common thing that I hear, or that people infer, even if they don't want to say it. And the reality is you know, that just isn't the case. And we'll talk about that in a few seconds. Just eat less and you'll lose weight. That's another common lie. I'll just work it off at the gym. Another lie. Calories are just calories. You know, calories are calories. No, they're not. You know, calories are burned differently depending upon your hormonal state. And sleep has nothing to do with it. It has huge amount to do with it. So, big lie number one, let's just talk about weight problems run in my family first. I think to answer this question, I think we've got to go back in time to 2002 when scientists completed mapping out the human genome. In 2002, when we mapped out the human genome, we were expecting to find about 250,000 genes, but we only ended up finding about 25,000. And so we had to completely rethink our theory on why certain people got sick, because there weren't enough genes to account for all the disease problems. There wasn't a heart disease gene or a diabetes gene or an obesity gene. There just weren't enough genes. Instead, what we realized is one gene could express itself in a multitude of different ways depending upon the environment it was put in. And this could account then for all the different variables. So one gene can express itself in a multitude of different ways depending upon the environment it's put in. So if it's put in a toxic, deficient, stressed environment, it's going to express itself abnormally from when it's put into an environment where it's sufficient and pure and the nervous system is not stressed. And this is now what scientists call epigenetics, and it's the study of how your environment influences the expression of your genes. For example, in North America, many of the Red Indians are considered to have obesity problems at the moment. They seem to have higher levels of obesity than the rest of the population. Per 100 people, there would be more obese Red Indians than there would be in the rest of the population. And so people have been saying, well, it's just genetic. Well, the reality is that before white man arrived in North America, white man meaning he brought white flour, white milk, white bread, whitey. When he arrived, he brought all these foods, and instead of these Indians now eating sockeye, salmon, and berries, and fruit, and deer or venison, they were now starting to consume what the Europeans were bringing over. And unfortunately, that resulted in their genes beginning to express themselves differently, resulting in this pandemic, if you want to call it, of obesity that's now a real problem in North America. Was it that the genes changed in themselves? They didn't. They just started to express themselves differently because they were put in a different environment. So environment is huge, and we're seeing this in Africa as well. Many traditional Africans living rural lifestyles, living traditional lifestyles, hunter-gathering lifestyles, are very, very healthy. As soon as they become urbanized and they start to eat typical Western food, now we have an obesity problem, diabetes is rife, and cancer is also a massive issue. And these are all people, invariably, that simply have started to, their physiology is essentially just changed within one generation because the environment has changed so quickly. And genes don't transform or don't change that quickly. They take, thousands and tens of thousands of years. In fact, even the most devout evolutionist, which I personally am not, but even the most devout evolutionists will say that, the human genome hasn't changed in over 10,000 years. So can we blame genes? We can't. What has changed though? Our environment, radically so. Okay, and particularly in the last 100 years, but really ever since the agricultural revolution, which started about 500 years ago. Okay, and this is why we're seeing these trends play out in, for example, Africa, with rural communities becoming urbanized. They're now becoming much more sick and much more obese. So we can't really blame genes. And there's a lot of studies now being done on identical twins, which is confirming this. So identical twins mean they are genetically identical, and one of them could end up living to the age of 75, 80, 85, 90 even, and they're still living a really good quality of life. The other twin may have ended up dying early at age 40 or 50 because of a heart attack and overweight problems. We can't blame genes. It's the environment that was clearly causing different gene expression. Okay. we've also got to understand that healthy comes in all shapes and sizes. So not everyone is going to be a string bean. Yes, that is where genes come into play. There's some people who are going to be more sort of naturally mesomorphs, more muscular. Some people are going to be more naturally endomorphs or ectomorphs, more slim or, more slightly sort of big boned. There's going to be some variety. So we just really need to be aiming at what can I do to make sure that I'm the best version of me and what my body is. Let's try not be the person on the front cover of a glossy magazine, because the chances are they don't have the same type of body type as we might do. And this is causing, I know, so much pressure on women and even young girls now. I've got 2 young girls now, they're 9 and 6, and I'm just thinking, crumbs, what am I going to be in for in a few years' time when slim and skinny is portrayed as really the only way to be. And I'm saying there's many shapes and sizes. We want to be the best version of what we have, though. Alright, so 15 pounds healthier. You'll notice it's not just 15 pounds lighter. We've chosen healthier because the goal really needs to be health. If health is the goal, then we're going to get to our right size body. And that's what we should all be aiming for, is our individual right size body, which is going to differ tremendously from one person to another. And that's going to be based upon our body composition, amount of lean tissue versus fat tissue. There's going to be some optimal ranges which will vary differently from men to women. Women will always have high percentage levels of fat, and that's normal. They should do. There are also different ways of measuring it, whether you just use a bathroom scale, but what's even better is abdominal measurement. A tape measure is probably the best thing that you can use to really ascertain how healthy you are from a weight perspective, because that weight that we carry around, what they call centripetal obesity, around the abdomen, that is bad fat. That is not a good indication that our body is functioning well, and it's an indication that we have a chronic hormonal imbalance, and our body fat set point has been definitely disrupted. So if you're carrying weight over here, okay, that's a red flag. It's a warning sign that your body is struggling, it's not healthy. Okay. A lot of women who might be carrying more weight maybe on the buttock or the legs, okay, that's less concerning. It's more this here that's an issue, both men and women, obviously. Right, big line number 2. Right, so we talked about number 1, genetics. Number 2 is just eat less and you'll lose weight. And yeah, this is a problem, because here's what happens when you just start to eat less. Food deprivation absolutely fails, because number 1, your energy goes down and your hunger goes up. That's not going to make for a good sustainable diet. Your metabolism also slows down, because your body is very clever. It's going to deliberately slow down your metabolism if it feels that it's in a situation where it might potentially not get food anytime in the near future. Could be potentially in a famine situation, right? So it essentially goes into survival mode. So it's going to deliberately slow down your metabolism, which means burning calories at rest is going to be even harder. And also, the body will even start to break down muscle, all right, to actually give you the energy reserves that it may need. And that's also not going to be good. So it's not a good idea. It creates short-term torture, and it's the yo-yo effect. Food deprivation does not work. So it's not just a case of eat less, exercise more, right? It's more complex than that. The big line number 3, calories are calories. Okay, let's address this one. You can have good calories and bad calories. And that's the reality. Is you have foods which are toxic and deficient, which are going to absolutely have a lot of bad calories, and then you're going to have foods that are actually nutritional, which are going to have lots of calories in it, but they're metabolized differently. If you compare pizza versus avocados, they both have calories, but they are metabolized very differently. And we've got to understand that. So let me break it down. I think a lot of people, when they were young, learned the food pyramid. How many of you have heard of the food pyramid? I'm sure we all have, right? Okay, so the food pyramid, the classic food pyramid is, I'll try to put this up here so you can see. I don't know if you can see me here, but at the bottom here, this is cereals and grains. This is what we were told we should be eating the most of. And just so you know, the food pyramid was born out of the grain and dairy lobbyists in the 1960s in the US as a way to try and get the population to buy more of their products. There's not a shred of science or data to back up the food pyramid. So please, please, please be aware of this. Cereals and grains is technically what they say you should be eating the most of. Fruits and vegetables, the next layer, meat and dairy, and then fats and oils and pudding, basically, dessert at the top. Unfortunately, when you think about it, humans are hunter-gatherers. And as hunter-gatherers, how many of us, or how many hunter-gatherers do you know of who eat bread or pasta? It doesn't happen. Because it's not worth a hunter-gatherer's while to try and gather enough wheat stalks that are, just remember, growing randomly in a field. They're not grown in massive farm fields and harvested by combine harvesters. Right? It's not worth their while trying to collect enough wheat to grind it up into flour to make a loaf of bread, because they probably would have expended more energy trying to do that than actually getting it from the tiny little cake of flour, the cake of bread that they would have ended up making at the end of it. So your genome is just not wired or expecting grains as its main source of carbohydrate. Yet that's what most of us are giving it. And this results in your genes being exposed to foods that it isn't really designed to actually deal with. And this results in abnormal genetic expression, abnormal physiology, and increased weight gain. Grains really contain a lot of empty calories. Right? And the more processed and refined they are, the worse they are. They also contain very high levels of omega-6 fatty acids, which are very inflammatory. So it's going to cause your body to become very inflamed. You're going to experience more pain, and also you're going to experience more atherosclerosis, meaning damage to your arteries, which will increase your risk of heart disease and stroke. Also, they're very, very high in sugar. You know, grains, all it is at the end of the day, when you break down grains, it's just pure sugar. It's starch which gets converted into sugar, and that spikes your your blood sugar levels with glucose, and that will then now create a huge amount of insulin being released into your bloodstream by your pancreas, which will now start to cause insulin resistance. So the more insulin that is released into your body, that actually causes a whole host of chronic inflammatory problems and chronic illness problems. Also, what it does is when you get lots of insulin being released into the bloodstream, think of insulin as the fat storage hormone. It's the thing that's going to create or make you fat. And if you continue to eat foods that cause a spike in sugar and blood sugar levels, you will continue to increase the amount of insulin, which means you'll continue to have increased amount of fat storage hormone in your body, which means you'll continue to store more and more fat. And that's going to continue to disrupt your normal hormonal balance and upset your body fat set point system. Okay? So that's the problem with grains. Oats and brown rice are your only sort of neutral ones on that. And if you're going to have any of those, you should be having them either at breakfast or lunch, not after lunch. Right? You need to only have it just to give you that energy for the day. You don't need that energy at night. Dairy is a big problem now. There are lots of problems with dairy because it's pasteurized, which means it's superheated, the protein's denatured, so your body cannot even recognize the proteins, many of the proteins in dairy anymore, and so it actually forms an immunological response against that dairy. And this can often increase your chance of developing autoimmune disorders. It also will increase even allergies. Often, kids who are constantly having dairy will find that they've got a constant runny nose and sinus issues. It will also increase weight gain as well. So, a lot of people will worry, well, where am I going to get my calcium from? Get your calcium from dark green vegetables. Dairy is actually a poor form of calcium. It's not in a form that your body can utilize. So rather, dark green vegetables is much, much better. It's just been marketed very cleverly. That's why they'll say in dairy adverts, dairy has lots of calcium in it, and calcium is good for your bones and teeth. But you'll notice they're not allowed to say, the marketing people are not allowed to say, dairy is good for your bones and teeth. They're letting you, the viewer, make that connection, because they're not allowed to make it, because there's so much research showing it's not actually the best thing for your bones and teeth. But calcium is, and the best form of calcium for you as a human being, not a calf, you as a human being, is dark green vegetables. All right, especially as you pass infancy. The only time we're supposed to have milk is when we're still breastfeeding ourselves. Beyond that, we have been weaned, and that's when our bodies are designed to get our calcium from dark green vegetables. If you don't believe me, even just think of, if you've got the world population at the moment, who has more osteoporosis? The first world or the third world? Well, you're thinking, probably the first world, right? Who do you think consumes more dairy? First world or third world? I can tell you it's the first world, because in the third world it's very expensive. They can't afford it. Alright, so it's not actually the best source of calcium. So hopefully we've debunked the food pyramid, because it's not a good model to use at all. Right? It was purely done for financial reasons back in the 1960s. So instead, if we compare, hopefully you can see me here. This is wild hunter-gatherer. This is industrialized modern human. Industrialized modern human, the diet is typically high refined carbohydrates, causing spikes in sugar levels, causing spikes in insulin, causing more fat storage hormone being released into the body. It's typically low in fat, which can be a problem because then you're not getting the good fats. Low in protein, because people have been told no red meat. And sugary foods, everything in moderation is the slogan. Well, who wants cancer in moderation? All right? So, these are kind of terms that are bandied around which really don't help anybody. And this is the result. Basically a high carb, low fat diet. And it's deficient in a lot of nutrients, because if a person is getting most of their carbohydrates from cereals and grains, they're not going to be consuming a lot of fruits and vegetables, because they'll just be so full. Which means they're going to be deficient in the micronutrients, the zinc, the selenium, the iron, the boron, all these calcium, all these things that are really, really important for your genes to express themselves normally. And so we're going to be nutrient overloaded and micronutrient deficient. On the other hand, wild hunter-gatherers, they have high complex carbohydrates, normally coming from roots, tubers, things like that, sweet potatoes, things that have release sugar slower into the bloodstream and for longer. They have low to moderate amounts of good fat, things like avocados, nuts, seeds. High protein, lots of protein. Okay, meat, nuts, legumes. No refined foods, no dairy, no sugar. It's really almost the complete opposite of the typical Western diet. And that's why you just don't see fat hunter-gatherers. It just doesn't happen. It's not just because they're running around all day long. It's their diets are whatever they can hunt or gather. Alright, so let's move on. So we talked briefly about the hormonal disruption that occurs when we have toxic deficient foods. And in particular, that causes a spike in spike in insulin, which is called, really nicknamed, the fat storage hormone. So every time you hear insulin, I want you to think the word fat storage hormone, because that's what it is. The more insulin in your body, the more fat storage hormone, the more fat is going to be essentially layered into your body. And what causes elevated insulin? You know, obviously it's our sugars and refined carbohydrates. We talked about the cereals and grains, processed foods, fast foods in particular. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, we've probably all seen what's happening with McDonald's and things at the moment with all the queues lining up. And it's really quite incredible to see just how addictive these things are. And we're going to talk about it, how food has got very much an emotional connection to it as well, and how addiction is very much linked into it too. But essentially, a lot of these foods are extremely addictive, and because your brains just weren't naturally wired to experience this kind of refined sugar. Your brain is designed to like things that are going to give you calories. But in nature, there's nothing that gives you such refined sugar hit as, you know, some of these kind of foods. Like, I don't know if you can see here, but donuts, cornflakes, rice cereal, Rice Krispies, rice cakes, rye bread, waffles, Cheerios, bagels, short grain white rice, corn chips, white bread, even whole wheat bread. You know, a lot of these things have very, very high sugar levels in it, and we can measure it by what we call glycemic index. So the faster you get a sugar spike in the bloodstream, the higher the glycemic index. Okay, so these high glycemic foods, these are the ones that in particular disrupt your hormonal balance and create lots of fat storage hormone being pumped out into your body. So just to give you a perspective, if pure glucose scores 100, okay, so pure sugar, pure refined sugar is 100 score, rice cereal is 89, cornflakes is 84, waffles 76, pretzels 83, Cheerios 74, bagels 72, corn chips 72, white bread 70, brown bread 69. It's only a difference of 1. So if we think we're eating brown bread and we're being healthy, we really need to rethink that. I mean, there's really not a huge difference. Yes, it's got more fiber, but from a fat storage hormone point of view, insulin level, it's almost the same as white bread. So if we've got to learn to lose weight, we need to start to think about eliminating these kind of things from our diet. And one thing I'm going to say here, though, is for many people, because there's such an addiction to some of these things, for some people, it might just be easier to start off with by adding good things first and not trying to start by removing bad things, because that's deprivation. It's not sustainable, and it just causes a person to just get frustrated and give up. So if there's anything that if you really just hung up on chocolate and you think, Neil, there's just no ways I'm going to give up chocolate now, don't even try to. But I am going to say, well, before you eat your chocolate bar, maybe eat a stick of broccoli or a bit of carrot and hummus, or have an apple, and then have your chocolate bar. All right? So start with adding good things first, and then remove bad things in time when you no longer crave it anymore. And I think this is the secret. We want to get to a situation where, remember, it's effortless. That's what's going to work. And if you're continuing to crave chocolate bars and things like that, and that's your real vice, don't start with that. Just start by adding good things first. Drink more water is going to be a key thing. You'll be amazed at how much less pizza you're going to eat if actually you're well hydrated before the meal, or you've eaten a huge big salad before you actually eat the pizza. I'll never forget, my wife and I thought, right, we're going to have a treat tonight, but we want to make sure that we balance out the treat. So we thought we're going to have some pizza, and this was about 10 years ago. And we had just come to the island, and we didn't feel like making a meal that night. But we thought, but to try and minimize the damage, let's just make sure we eat a salad first. So we thought, at least we can make a salad. And we made this huge salad, and by the time we'd finished eating the salad and we got to our pizza, we could actually only end up eating about 2 pieces of pizza anyway, because we're just so full of salad. And so there really is merit to add good things first. You'll find that naturally you'll just eat less of the rubbish, because you're so full of the good stuff. And also you'll find that the more good stuff that you eat, the more of that you're going to crave. The more McDonald's and pizza you eat, the more of that you're going to crave. So to try and change your cravings, you need to start moving towards adding good things to your diet, which over time your body craves what it gets a lot of. Your body craves what it gets a lot of. So if you give it a lot of good healthy stuff, eventually you're going to crave the salad. Trust me, I'm craving salad all the time, especially when I'm traveling, because you just can't get hold of the stuff easily. And then it becomes easy. Remember, we want to be in that category where weight loss becomes effortless. And it's got to change by changing the mindset, the belief system, and changing your cravings. And that's one of the tricks, one of the tips that you can do to try and change your cravings. Add good stuff first. Right, so typically though, when we're talking about Western foods, that, you know, your hot dogs, your hamburgers, your pizzas, your donuts, you know, all that kind of stuff, more than 70% of energy in typical Western diets were virtually unknown by our hunter-gathering communities. So 70% of the energy from the food that typical Westerners eat is unheard of in our hunter-gatherer ancestors and modern-day versions of those. They just didn't have all these breads and cereals and grains. And the modern ones that still live today don't have access to that. And that's why they're so much healthier. They've done studies on it. National Geographic and things have done studies on these modern-day hunter-gatherers who still live today. People like the Hasda in Tanzania, the people in Papua New Guinea, the Inuit in Greenland, and obviously the guys in the Amazon. And you know, things like cancer, heart disease, obesity, stroke, autoimmune disease, these things are just virtually unheard of. Are their genes any different to ours, by the way? They're exactly the same. All right? You take those same people and you dump them into London and you say, right, you go live for a year and see how they do. They end up getting the same problems as we do. Okay. We just got to start to change our lifestyle. There was a big critical turning point in our history of how humans eat in about the mid-1970s. And this slide, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but you know, we'll give it a bash. Hopefully my description won't totally destroy it. But this is a graph of percent of obese people and the years over time. All right, so this is the 1960s going through to now the late 2000s. And really what we're seeing is all these graphs that we're tracked here are the number of obese people. And the number of obese people all started to increase. This inflection point started to increase at about this point here, which is about 1976, the mid-1970s. And basically this is when fast food started to get rolled out on a big scale, right? And it started to hit huge swathes of the population. So fast food, processed food, ready-made meals, that's when a lot of problems really started to come. Because as I said earlier on, these companies hire food engineers to make the food taste really nice, which means there's lots of sugar and the wrong kind of fat. It's that combination that makes that perfect sort of addictive taste. That's when that got rolled out on a big scale. That's when we started to see a lot of people starting to become overweight. So we've really got to just try and move away from the fast foods and the processed things. But that's, I mean, everyone knows that. But here's the thing. There's a bondage. And this is when we go into the emotional addiction side of things. Because people know that they shouldn't eat the burger or the pizza. So why do they do that? Why do they continue to do what they know is the wrong thing? And the reason this is happening is because really those pleasure centers in the brain are so wired to get that pleasure hit that it's almost like telling an alcoholic or a drug addict to stop taking their drug. The difference with what we have with obesity is it's legal, it's allowed, and we're actually almost marketed to all become obese. Whereas obviously with alcoholism and drug addiction, it's considered illegal. But at the brain level, it's the same thing that's happening. There's an addiction that's happening. I mean, they've done these studies on mice, and they've shown that if you start to feed mice cocaine or sugar, and you get them to be able to experience both of them, and then you give them individually, and then you give the mice both cocaine and sugar at the same time, they'll go to the sugar every time, because our body is so hardwired to want sugar, because that's the way that our brain is wired, because it's a basic survival instinct. You got to remember that sugar was a source of fuel for our bodies, and in times gone by where there wasn't much food around, there weren't shops and there weren't farms with huge fields of wheat, etc. It was hard to find foods that actually gave you some calories, so your body was wired to search and hunt for them. The problem is now all this food is so readily available and so cheap because of the modern commercial farming methods, and we've now added that extra engineering of making it the perfect blend of fat and sugar. Our brains just weren't designed to take these kind of super high levels of pleasure that are experienced when we consume these kind of foods. And so we can easily become addicted. You then add to the mix of that is that a lot of people will turn to food as an emotional crutch. And this is particularly problematic nowadays. I think a lot of people, when they're really stressed, the first thing they're going to go to is the pantry, and they're going to pick out the chocolate biscuit, the chocolate bar, or the donut, or whatever it is that is their vice. And it's because it's almost acting as a crutch, because they're trying to deal with a stress in their brain, or some form of depression even, or even a feeling of there's a lack. And in the world today, when people are feeling so isolated, so alone, so stressed, and so depressed, it's understandable how people can easily be drawn to resorting to these kind of essentially chemical substances to try and give them the pick-me-up, because it's the only source of pleasure for many people in their sort of monotonous, stressful, daily, boring lives. Unfortunately, what it's doing is it's robbing people of even more joy in the long term, and we've got to try and unravel that. And when you combine the strategies that we're going to be talking about in detail tonight, and what I've already discussed some of, it's absolutely doable. We can start to change our behaviors as we change our belief systems, and we can transition over towards things that are going to start to make us feel really good, but that really are actually good for us. And that's the trick, where you want your body now working for you, not against you. It's more difficult to convince a healthy person to eat junk food and get unhealthy and overweight than it is to convince a unhealthy person who's overweight to start to get healthy, because biology is wired so that when you're feeling good and you're healthy, I would never want to trade the short quick fix that maybe a pizza or a chocolate bar gives me, or a biscuit, for the energy that I experience because I'm able to do the sport I love, do my outdoor pursuits that I love, or the fact that I can sleep so well, or I don't have to worry about being sick. Those are things that are deep driving motivators for me and other healthy people who are trying to do that. Now, don't get me wrong, believe me, I have my vices. Pizza's my weak link, by the way. So I just make sure my wife doesn't buy it. You're not allowed to buy pizza, otherwise I'm going to eat it. All right, so that's another trick. Don't bring into the house what you shouldn't eat. If it's not bought, if it's not in the trolley, you're not going to eat it at 10 o'clock at night when you think, time for a little bit of a snack, because it's not going to be in the pantry. And if it's not in the pantry, you're going to search high and low everywhere and all your secret spots. And when all of those are now empty and you don't have anything left in the house, you'll eventually resign yourself, okay, let's just go to bed. And you'll wake up the next day feeling just fine. Hopefully you won't be that determined that you'll get in the car to the spa. Hopefully not. But most of the time, the battle is won in the supermarket. Right? So just don't buy the stuff. Don't bring it home. It makes it so much easier for you. All right. Another big thing is that sugar and treat foods are so interconnected now with socializing, and all our sort of social engagement almost all revolve around food now, and invariably it becomes about food that is quick and easy to access, or it's just become almost part of culture that when you go out to meet someone, you have a chocolate cake when you have tea, and it's sometimes we just need to try and look at how can we do different activities that don't involve just eating the wrong foods, but will still create that culture of being able to socialize really well. So maybe when you decide to meet up, you can decide to meet up and go for a walk and talk, as opposed to just going to sit in the coffee shop, which is really the carbohydrate delivery system. Or if you're going to go to the coffee shop, the carbohydrate delivery system, at least maybe walk there instead of driving there and trying to get the parking right in front of the shop. Make sure you at least go for a bit of a walk beforehand and afterwards. Also, just with talking about the addiction part of food, and I think this is an important point. Those people who know for a fact that you just feel that you are a food addict and that there's a huge emotional part to your eating habits, and there are going to be some who think that's not really for me, and there'll be some who are kind of on the fence, and there'll be some who are thinking, yeah, that's definitely me. Those of you who know that you really have a food addiction problem, there are some great resources out there. Susan Pierce Thompson, who runs the Bright Line Eating program, she runs a phenomenal program, and she goes deep into the psychology of how of food has become an emotional crutch for people, and she helps people work through that. And certainly I would suggest go to her website, Brightline Eating, Susan Pierce Thompson, PhD. You can even get her book. It's on Amazon. That's another really good one as well. Just those of you, and I think it's only going to cost you 30 quid, and it's well worth a read. I know for a fact it's changed many people's lives, and these are people who've managed to now lose weight and keep that weight loss off for many years. All right, so top 7 dieting pitfalls. A lot of people drink calories. Try not to drink your calories. Anything really that has got added sugar to it, just don't even have it in the house. Make sure you're drinking more water or more herbal teas. Be surprised that even if you change your eating habits, if you don't change your drinking habits, that's not you're just not going to move. It's not going to change. Too much fruit is another big problem. Too much dairy, grainitarians, people who eat too much grain, we've talked about that. People who are snacking all the time. Post-exercise binging, a common dietary pitfall. Well, I've worked so hard, I deserve now a little treat, and you've just undone all that you've worked so hard. Skipping breakfast is another big one. I know it's so cliche, but it really is your most important meal because it helps get your fat storage, or your body fat set point system more balanced again, and it gets your hormones balanced properly. People who are eating late at night, it totally disrupts that body fat set point system, and it completely disrupts your hormonal levels. So ideally, we should be in a situation where we're eating unlimited vegetables, abundant, lean, natural meats, some fruits, nuts, seeds, and limited starch and no sugar. Anything with refined sugar, that's what we keep away from. And essentially, that is what your genes require. So any diet that's going to be focusing in on that's the predominant kind of foods that you're going to be eating. And if that works for you, go for it. Absolutely go for it. All right. A couple of key things. When you're getting most of your carbohydrates from your fruits and vegetables, your body's also going to become very alkaline, which is a powerful way of protecting against cancer and keeping you free from chronic illness. Also, you'll find that obviously you're not going to have those sugar level spikes anymore, and that's also going to protect you then against from heart disease and stroke as well as obviously diabetes and obesity. Right, so I'm going to show you just a couple of pictures here. I don't know, hopefully you'll be able to see some of it. Let's have a look here. So whenever you look at putting a meal together, these are the key things you want to start trying to do. Is identify where's the plant, where's the fat, where's the protein. Where's the plant, where's the fat, where's the protein. That's what should be on your plate. Plant, fat, protein. Right, so you might not see this, but this is salmon and broccoli and vegetables and brown rice, okay, and some almond nuts, okay, and avocados. Brown rice and oats, remember, are the only real cereals and grains that you should be consuming, breakfast or lunch only though. Okay, so meat, avocado, lots of salad, avocado. You'll see avocado comes up a lot because it's a great source of healthy fat. Chicken, peppers, right, beans. Okay, another great salad. Really, again, I'm not going to spend too long on this because I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but really all you're looking at is lots of salad, some fruit, meat, okay, nuts, okay, and normally some form of fat. So like avocado, or the nuts, or sometimes even things like prawns can be a good source. Egg is great as well. So omelets are really, really good, provided it's not loaded with cheese. All right. You've got your meatballs and your salad again. Okay, so lots of fresh stuff. Salmon, preferably free, wild as opposed to farmed. Lean meats. Okay. Okay, so there again, some fish, prawns, salmon, and some avocado. So the best thing you could be doing every night is making a big salad with some meat. That should be really your dinner. You don't need these fancy recipes which involve, hours to prepare. Whether it be a lasagna or a babuti or the latest fanciest souffle or whatever it is that you're going to eat. Keep it simple. Where's the fat? Where's the protein? Where's the plant? And you can come up with some great options there. And please just come to Line for Life. Get some. We've got loads of recipe options for people here, which you can always grab if you want. And we can certainly give you lots of ideas of the kind of things that you can have. All right. So we know sedentary lives are a big part of the problem. That's part of the perfect hormonal storm. And the big problem with not only are we consuming too many calories, but obviously we're not exercising enough. The biggest challenge really is even if people are going to an hour of gym every day, they've still got 8, 9, 10 hours at work where they're sitting at a desk. And humans are not supposed to be sitting. I mean, how many hunter-gatherers do you know of who sit for 8 or 10 hours a day? It just doesn't happen. So our genome is not designed to get exposed to that kind of level of inactivity. And so our genome starts to express itself abnormally when we're not getting exposed to regular movement. So one of the things that definitely I would encourage people to do is to make sure that you get a sit-stand desk. Even get a treadmill in your office if you have your own personal office. Make sure you're always taking the stairs, not the lift. Try not to drive and park right up close to where you're going to need to be. Park deliberately further away so you can walk there and back. And there's a term for it which is essentially, it's called NEAT, okay? Non-essential activity thermogenesis. So basically anything that creates movement is going to actually help reduce your blood sugar levels, which is going to help reduce fat storage hormone, and which is going to help keep you on an even keel and keep your hormones more evenly balanced. Inactivity creates a complete hormonal storm for you. Movement normalizes it. So you don't have to be running marathons or doing HIIT sessions at the gym to make a huge difference. You just getting up and walking around regularly is going to make a massive difference, which is where these Fitbits can be really helpful. It can actually monitor how many steps you're taking. Aim for 10,000 steps a day. Even just small movements, fidgeting, okay, actually will burn calories, okay? So it'll burn energy. So your whole metabolism starts to change. And that's what's key. The more movement you do, the higher metabolism goes, which means the more energy you're burning at rest. And that's really what's so key. This is a quote taken from the Journal of Applied Physiology 2005. This is Robert C.K. Barnard, the effects of exercise and diet on chronic disease. And he was saying humans living today inherited a genome that was programmed for daily physical activity and a high fiber diet, meaning lots of fruits and vegetables. That's what your genes need. And when your genes don't get given that, they respond and express themselves optimally. All right, we've talked a little bit about that again. So now we're going to go to big lie number 4, which is I'll just work it off at the gym. Here's the problem with this. Your genes are very thrifty. All right? They're programmed to survive famine at all costs. And it's very easy to consume calories. It's very difficult to burn them because your genes are programmed to survive famine. So for tens of thousands of years potentially, your body is going to, when it comes across an energy source and it's not getting calories or energy sources very often, when it does get them, it's going to hold on to them for dear life, in case you come across a famine anytime in the near future, so that you've now got a reserve, a fat reserve, to now draw energy from. So it's really programmed to store that energy really fast. And this is where the problem of, if you eat some food which is not healthy, which is toxic and deficient, and is high calorie, when you then start to burn it off, it's going to take a much longer time to burn it off than you actually really realize. It's just not worth it. So to be honest, weight loss, 30% of it is what you put in 30% of it is exercise, 70% of it is what you put in your mouth. 30% is exercise, 70% is what you put in your mouth. There's a saying, abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym. So people who want these six-pack abs, they're made in the kitchen, not the gym. And there's a lot of truth to that. Winning the war on obesity problems, it's what you're putting in your mouth is more important than killing yourself in the gym. And if you're just doing the non-essential activity thermogenesis, so just regular movement stuff throughout the day, and you're being very careful about making sure you're eating healthily, like I've suggested, then you'll be amazed at how losing weight will become easy. And it's not about slogging away through your 5-kilometer runs every day at 6 o'clock in the morning to try and burn off that extra weight. It's so much easier than that if you work with your biology, not against it. You've got to remember that our ancestors exerted themselves daily just doing everyday normal things. They weren't deliberately trying to run 5 kilometers or run on a treadmill. Whether it just be trying to get some food, collect some water, protection, everything that they did involved some activity. So just trying to incorporate some just daily activity to everything that you do in the workplace and at home. And minimize sitting. Sitting absolutely is the new smoking. Sitting will take more years off your life if you're sitting 8 to 10 hours a day than smoking 10 cigarettes a day. Newsflash, that's going to come as a shock to some of you. Right? Sitting is absolutely a killer. But you don't have to run a marathon or half marathons to lose weight. Right? Watch what you're eating healthily, eat according to what your genes need, regular movement, and you'll be surprised at how it'll work now for you. But here's a few key things that we're going to talk about now, which is really going to be the trump card in how to deal with this. Stress is one of the biggest contributing factors to why your hormones get kicked out of balance and why your body fat set point becomes dysfunctional. So your body can no longer set its body fat at a normal level when you're stressed. So people who are trying to lose weight when they're stressed, it's really tough. And this is one of the reasons why lockdown is becoming such a problem. And probably many of you may have experienced that, any ambitions to lose weight has been eaten up very quickly in lockdown, because when you get bored you snack a lot, but also when you're stressed you're going to snack a lot, because when you're stressed your body's going to crave foods that are high in energy, because historically when we were stressed we had to run away from a threat. Now the stresses we're dealing with are not so tangible, and so our bodies are still primed to crave energy giving foods, but we're not actually then expending that energy. And so this is why weight gain happens so easily. And also the problem with stress is it causes massive spikes in cortisol, which is very destructive on your body as well. It causes a lot of chronic illness problems to develop, and it also makes trying to lose weight very difficult as well. So because your body now is expecting a disaster to happen. When you're stressed, your body's expecting a disaster is about to happen, and historically when we are exposed to disasters, it means probably a famine was going to soon come our way. And so your body will hold on to every bit of fat and energy reserve it can when it's stressed, even if you're trying to lose weight. So it's very important to deal with the stress component of our bodies if we're going to be successful in losing weight easily. And that's the key thing. You want to lose weight easily, right? And if you're stressed, you're not going to lose weight easily. And I know this. I've seen this with hundreds of our clients. In fact, many clients who come through to us, a lot of them are coming through for spine-related issues or health-related issues or stress-related issues. And as we get rid of the stresses within their spine and their nervous systems and in their bodies and their brains, they suddenly start losing weight. And they're amazed at how this is happening. And it's simply because as we're starting to work on de-stressing their nervous systems and their brains by working on their spine and getting rid of any problems within the spine, the brain stress drops, cortisol levels drop, body no longer feels it's in threat, so it feels like it doesn't have to hold on to every bit of calorie it's consumed, and weight starts to now more easily shed. And we see this time and time again. So stress is a big issue. So anything that you can do to help minimize your stress or mitigate stress is going to be an absolute winner. So obviously exercise itself helps reduce stress. Going to your local chiropractor will help reduce stress, because their problems can develop within the spine because of bad postural habits, spinal misalignments that create huge amounts of subconscious stress that gets fired up through to the brain, which causes the brain to become stressed. It causes cortisol production, which then alters your hormonal balance and causes your body to be in that fight or flight state. And when you can get rid of these problems in the spine that create huge amounts of stress, the brain no longer feels stressed anymore, and the body is now happy to shed more weight. Definitely, even look to start to getting maybe your spine and nervous system checked for misalignments in the spine. It's what we call subluxations that create stress through to the brain. That's a key. Anything that involves relaxation and breathing, going out into nature. Okay, these are all really good ways of de-stressing the brain. And the less stressed you are, the easier that weight will fall off. Okay, so next thing we want to move on to is sleep. Okay, and we've just got a couple of things and then we'll be able to wrap up. But sleep is huge, and one of the things that we now understand about sleep is sleep has got everything to do with it, a huge amount to do with it. And you'll realize this when, I'm just going to turn this off for a second. You'll realize this because, as I said earlier, touched on earlier, when people are on shifts and they're working crazy hours through the night, or they're doing long haul flights traveling east and west, and they're going through various different time zones, they really struggle with weight gain and a lot of health problems as well. And it's because it disrupts your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is this, is that your body is programmed to be alert and functioning during daylight hours and is designed to be sleeping at night. And when you have a situation when at night you now start to become more alert because you're staying up late watching TV, or you're working on the computer, or you're looking at your phone, which all emits blue and white light, which keeps your brain artificially awake, because it's that blue-white light, which is the same kind of light from the sun. That's what keeps you awake during the day. But when you're now being exposed to that at night, your brain now still thinks it's daylight, and so you're not going to be able to fall into a deep sleep pattern, and so your quality of sleep is poor. And when you don't end up getting a good rhythm of sleep, wake, sleep, wake, sleep, wake, and it's kind of just sort of a flattened down version of it, this really creates havoc to your hormonal levels. Your brain can no longer produce lots of melatonin at night, which means you now can't sleep properly. When you can't sleep properly, that's when most of your healing and repair occurs. And also, when you are being kept artificially alert at night, you're going to be eating, right? And because you're doing things, and whether it be watching TV or working at the computer, and your body, when it starts to eat food at night, it then means it doesn't have many hours before daylight, breakfast. So instead of actually fasting for 12 hours, you might have only fasted for 6 hours. And your body needs a longer period of time to fast to get the hormones back in balance. Your body cannot use food that's being eaten late at night nearly as efficiently, because of the altered hormonal patterns that result, as when you're eating during the day. So my strong recommendation is try keep at least 12 hours every night where you're not eating. Eat during the day, but not eat at night. So if you have your dinner at 8 o'clock, you shouldn't really be eating breakfast until 8 o'clock in the morning. Right? If you eat dinner at 7, you shouldn't eat breakfast at least till 7 in the morning. Now if you can go 14 hours, even better. But at least try and aim for 12. It's called breakfast, breaking the fast, for a reason. Your body needs that period of time to restore normal hormonal levels and to give your digestion a break. It also then means that when you do eat during the day, your body's going to burn those calories up very quickly, and it's going to use them very, very efficiently. Whereas when you're consuming calories at night, it doesn't use them. You're just about to go to sleep, or you're doing not a lot of the energy consuming things, like lounging in front of the TV. And so it just stores all of that. Okay. And this is where you start to end up with a problem with that body fat set point system now being disrupted. So my big tip is stop eating at night. Don't eat after 8 o'clock at night. And don't eat again until 8 o'clock in the morning, at least, if you can. And that's going to go a long way in helping you normalize your hormonal levels and getting your body fat set point system back to normal again. Okay. Next thing we've got is, so just to give you an idea, when you are exposed to a lot of that white light and that blue light, your leptin levels of your body, so that's the hormone that suppresses appetite, in of itself is depressed. So when you're exposed to lots of white light, the thing that actually suppresses your appetite gets suppressed, which means you get hungry. all right? Which means that's why you're often tempted to eat more at night when you are watching TV or still working on the computer. Your ghrelin hormones go up. Ghrelin stimulates hunger, and your cortisol levels also go up. Right? Remember, your cortisol levels, your stress hormone levels, that causes you to now crave carbohydrates, in particular, the very thing that causes the sugar spikes. So bottom line is, eating late at night, bad idea. It's really going to wreck things for you. It's going to make you losing weight much, much harder. Those of you who are working shift work, then you've really got to try and time your food to during the day, and as best you can, ease your way out of those shifts. It's a tough one. People who are on shift work have got real challenges, and I'd definitely suggest that try get as long a period over time over that night period where you're not eating, and then maybe only consume food for 6 hours or so during the day when you are awake. So best practices, I'm going to give you a few key tips here with regards to this. Use your circadian rhythm as a guide. Get 8 or 9 hours of sleep a night. Make sure you're getting at least 12 hours fast over that night. Make sure when you are sleeping, you're getting good quality sleep, so it's in a dark, quiet, comfortable room, away from any white light or computer light or phone light. Use blue blockers if you need to. Blue blockers are glasses that put, basically they're orange glasses, which make you look like Bono, and you're going to wear these glasses, and it blocks out all the blue and white light. And what that essentially does is it enables you to do any work that you have to do at night without worrying about your brain being impacted by that white light. So your brain will still produce normal melatonin levels. They're orange light because your brain is used to being exposed to orange or red light at night, because that's when traditionally we would have been exposed to fires. Okay, and it actually primes your brain when we lose white light and blue light at night, and we only see red or orange light. It's priming your brain for the fact that nighttime's here, it's time to sleep. So yeah, use those blue blockers. They can be very, very helpful. Or use just orange or red bulbs if you'd prefer. Okay, and try and make sure if for whatever reason you don't want to get those blue blockers, just eat fast at least an hour before you go to sleep. So no TV, no screens, an hour before you go to sleep. Otherwise, use the blue blockers. You'll find you'll get much better quality sleep. The deeper you sleep, the more fat you're going to burn. It's that simple. All right. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to say is this. Toxins are a big issue as to why people struggle to lose weight. If your body is toxic, it's going to be reluctant to shed calories. It's going to be reluctant to shed body fat, because body fat protects you against those toxins. It's an insulator. That's what fat is. It's an insulator, in particular against toxins. So the more toxic your body, the less likely you're going to be able to shed fat. So one of the things that you need to really start to work on is, you've probably all heard of the dirty dozen. So these are the fruits and vegetables that are typically sprayed heavily with chemicals and pesticides. It's those chemicals and pesticides that are very toxic to your body. You've got to start to make sure you get rid of those. So eat as much organic food as your budget will allow. Those things that are not in your budget, those foods that you just can't afford, because just the organic version is just too expensive, then you've got to be honest, not consume non-organic dirty dozen fruits and vegetables. Meaning the fruits and vegetables that are in the dirty dozen category, they're the ones that you should not touch unless they're organic. Things like blueberries, raspberries, okay, a lot of your berries basically. And if they're not organic, they've been sprayed multiple times. Apples, anything where you're eating the skin. Anything that you peel, on the other hand, that would not be considered in the dirty dozen. If you just Google the dirty dozen, you'll see them. All right. So the bottom line is, any skin that you can peel, if that's not in your budget for organic, that's fine. You can still, I would still say that you're okay to eat those. But any fruits and vegetables where you do not peel the skin and they're not organic, definitely you want to keep away from those. Filtering water, very important. Most water is full of toxins, chemicals, pesticides, and agricultural runoff, but also chlorine, very neurotoxic. Remember, the more toxic your body, and you're mainly water, remember, more than 70% water. So making sure you reduce toxins just by eliminating water that is not actually bottled spring water or properly filtered water is going to go a long way to helping reduce your toxin load. So filter your water or bottled water. Greenland spring water, great, or any of your spring waters, I would say are great to go, and also any of the under the kitchen counter filters are great as well. Obviously, if you're buying bottled water, try to buy big bottles. We don't want to be dumping more and more plastic into the environment. And make sure if you are going to recycle them. Toxins in the air. So many people will actually, the inside of their houses, the air inside the houses are more toxic than outside the houses. So you want to definitely get to a situation where you are minimizing the amount of cleaning products that are, those harsh cleaning products. Things like bleach, Domestos, Harpic, all of those kind of harsh chemicals that are used for cleaning that normally sit underneath the kitchen sink. All those chemicals gets into your air in your house. You want to start thinking about moving over to more environmentally friendly ones like Ecova, and there are a couple of others as well. You can find them mainly at Tesco now. Seven Oceans, I think, or Seven Seas, Seven Oceans. My wife will probably kill me because I can't remember the name. But there are some other ones. Just look up on them. But I know Ecova do some of them. And the things that you really can't get a healthier option, keep outside in the garage or the shed. Don't keep it in your house. Personal care products is a big one. Your lipsticks, your makeup, the skin products that you're using. Bottom line is, if you can't put it in your mouth, you shouldn't really put it on your skin, because all of that stuff that you put on your skin just gets absorbed into your body, and you'd be amazed at how many makeups and lipsticks have lead as one of the key ingredients. Now, lead, we know, is incredibly toxic to your body. So please start moving over towards organic skincare products, which are environmentally friendly and safe to put on your skin. Certainly, Eminence is a really, really great brand. That's why we stock it here at the clinic. You don't have to get Eminence, but Eminence, I would say, is certainly one of the leading brands. One of the certainly many of the leading sort of Hollywood stars are all hugely in favor of it. It's much bigger in North America. I think it's still beginning to take off in Europe now. But Europe is a little bit behind, but it's huge in North America. Most of the Ritz-Carlton hotels and spas use Eminence. So definitely look into Eminence if you want. You can certainly speak to Shelly Cretney. She works here. She works with the Eminence brand. Or my mum, Rose Thompson. We were the one who got her on board with that. Because I just knew how important this was, and we wanted to make sure our patients had access to healthier skincare products than some of the stuff that is out there. So if you want to speak to them, certainly Rose is normally here on Tuesdays and Thursdays at about 11:30 till 1:30, and Shelley normally also, I think she'll be back on board from about the 15th of June, and they'll be able to give you loads of advice on that, much more than me. All right, but they're certainly experts in that. Another big thing is liver detoxes. You want to try and get involved in much of that as possible. Your liver detoxes your body of toxins. So things like turmeric can really help with that. And there are lots of other liver cleansers, which if you want to learn more about that, certainly you can speak to us as well. There are some companies that we would recommend who give some good supplements to help with that. And certainly even from a chiropractic point of view again as well, what chiropractic does is it helps improve function of the body, including all the organs. So the better your organs are working, including your liver, it's going to help detoxify. And when we find that there are misalignments in the spine, what we call subluxations in the spine that cause interferences in the nervous system, that can affect organ function. And certainly we find liver dysfunction is one of the most common problems of spinal problems. And that could just be a liver dysfunction could be happening purely because of your posture, because you're at your PC all day long. So again, that might be something worth checking out to see if there's anything in your spine that might be contributing towards your liver not performing as well as it could be. Remember, organs need two things, blood supply and nerve supply. And if they're not getting good nerve supply, as you can see here, okay, if the messages from the spine are not getting out through to the nerves, to all the organs properly, because there's a blockage in the spine, because there's a misalignment, the organs can't work the way they're supposed to. And this is obviously where chiropractic could help as well. And then we've got saunas and sweating. These are really, really helpful with helping detox. So anything that creates sweat is going to help eliminate toxins, because when your body sweats, it's not just to cool you down, it's one of your inbuilt mechanisms for your body to eject toxins out your body. All right, so it doesn't just happen with when you go to the toilet, it also happens when you sweat. So anything that creates sweating is going to help remove toxins, and sauning is one of the most effective ways of doing that. If you are going to sauna, ideally you want to go a slightly lower heat for longer than a high heat for a shorter period of time. You get a better sweat. Okay, and I highly, highly recommend that. Some of the world's leading toxicologists and people who specialize in detoxifying people will say sauning is one of the best things you could be doing. So regular sauning is hugely helpful. If you've got an infrared sauna, which you can even now purchase online, and you self-assemble it like IKEA and have it in at home, that's amazing. My wife and I are looking at trying to do that. That's an amazing way to try and actually help detoxify the body, and it can really help with a lot of different problems, whether it be autoimmune problems, general aches and pains, to all sorts. So there are lots of companies out there. Just look up infrared saunas. Okay, now, given the ineffectiveness of popular weight loss diets, adoption of a healthy lifestyle is more appropriate for winning the war against chronic disease. And so really that's what it's about. It's trying to move your lifestyle towards a more healthy one. And when you start to put all these pieces together, you will find that weight loss becomes so much easier. And it does become more effortless, and you're going to be more successful at it. But it starts with trying to change that mindset. We want to have a healthy obsession, all right, with what we're eating, and that can happen with time. Add good things first. Let your cravings change towards healthy good things, and then you'll find giving up the bad things more easy. All right, it really does work. And that's how I lost 10 kgs in less than 6 months without even really trying. And I just adopted those principles. There are other people out there who it's going to be more of an effort, and there's some deep emotional hurts or connections that are linked with food, and they use that as a reward. That's where Susan Pierce Thompson can be really helpful for those. And the rest of us can sort of just use some of these principles that I've shared tonight. And some of you might be out there, thinking that are there any potential problems that are going on in my spine that might be contributing towards my body fat set point system being dysfunctional, or my hormones being thrown in balance? Because remember, your nervous system controls everything in your body. And so if you are thinking that you might have subluxations, or you're wondering if you have any subluxations, misalignments in your spine that are putting stress on your nervous system, that could be contributing towards not just everyday health problems like back pain, neck pain, etc., but could also potentially be affecting your hormonal balances, including your body fat set point system. Certainly we'd love to actually get you in, have a consultation with you, where we'll do a deep consultation, about 45 minutes, trying to get into the root cause of some of your health challenges. And I'd love to be able to sit there and try and work out where you're struggling and how we can help you. And we will also then do a detailed exam on your spine, which may involve also any x-rays if we feel it's necessary, and a computer generated posture analysis, which will give us a really good 3D image of what's going on in your spine. And if we find that there are any significant subluxation issues that are potentially there that we feel could help, and or postural problems, then we can then talk about putting you on some sort of care plan to start to get that nervous system more balanced again and that spine more functional. And so the normal assessment normally takes about 45 minutes to an hour, and we would then do a report normally the next day or a day after, which will then give me time to prepare the results, and then we'll be able to show you where your spine is versus where it should be, and where parts of your spine are misaligned and how that might be starting to affect your nervous system, causing some of these disruptive problems in your body. And then we'll talk about a plan of action to try and start to correct that. And that's, again, one of the things that we specialize in here. Normally the whole assessment costs £160, but we've decided as part of our Facebook Live event that we're doing today, and because of the whole coronavirus thing, I appreciate has left a lot of people, cash flow is a problem, and I understand that. Believe me, I understand that. We've decided we would offer. Normally we offer it for £80, but we've decided to drop it to now just £49. So if you want to get an assessment on your spine and nervous system to see if this might be contributing to any of your problems, including even some of the challenges in your hormonal levels that could be contributing to any weight issues there, or it could be even anything else. If you've got other issues that you might be struggling with, whether it be back pain, neck pain, headache, sciatica, anything like that, we are more than happy to do an assessment with you. So it'll only cost you £49, but the offer will only be available really for those people who just send us a private message on our Facebook page. If you send a message saying your name and your contact details, so if you can just give us a phone number and email, so don't worry, it will be a private message to us, so don't put it on the public forum, but if you private message us with your name, your contact details, email and phone number, we will give you a call tomorrow. Alright, and then we can schedule in for that assessment. So that hopefully will give you a lot of insight as to maybe some blind spots that might be contributing to maybe why you're not functioning as well as you could be. And also we'll be able to walk through with you and hold your hand a little bit through trying to adopt strategies, lifestyle strategies, on top of working on your spine and nervous system to help you achieve the goals that you're looking to get. Alright, so if that's you, just write your name down. Just write us a private message, your name, email, and contact details, and we will get back to you. Probably will be Audrey who will phone you tomorrow and or email you tomorrow with hopefully an appointment slot that we can fit in for you. And if we feel that we can help you and we're a right match, then we can take it from there. Okay. Right, those of you who've got any burning questions, I will be available just for a few minutes afterwards, so I can take any questions. If you do have them, I will see if I can try and get it to work. I'm hoping that I will be able to hear. If I'm not responding, then it's probably because there's an issue here on our computer. So in which case, drop us a message in our Facebook feed, and we will try to address it over the next couple of days. Okay, so I will try this. Let's hope. I haven't actually done one of these before, so and we did have some problems setting up. But if you've got any questions, I'll try and help answer them now. Otherwise, leave a message even on the public forum, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can on that. Okay, all right, take care and bye for now. I will be here for a few minutes afterwards, so we will try. Yeah, it does seem like we are actually having problems trying to do this. So what I'm going to suggest, everyone, if you've got any of those burning questions, okay, cool. I do have a message here. Just a thanks, Neil, from Carrie Ann. Thank you, Carrie Ann. It does let me know that it's coming through. Any questions at all then that anyone else might have? And as I said, we will be available to take any of them, because often you can end up finding out that, oh, I wish I'd asked that. Just ask us, fire us a message the next day, and we'll do that. Also, if you're wanting to get that assessment, you can always ask me at the assessment. If that's you, do just remember those assessments will be available for those people who just message just through to today and tomorrow. All right. and then we will have to close the offer because then it's not fair for people coming in after that. Any other questions we got here? Okay, no, that's good. Yeah, good. Okay, we can deal with that. No problem. We can talk about that at another time. All right. Okay, I'm going to leave you all. Thanks for all joining us tonight, and we should hopefully be live for our next body signals in a month's time, in real time. So I'm hoping by then things would have changed, but if they're not, we will try and structure it again as a Facebook Live event. Hopefully we will have our Facebook more sorted out by then, so we'll be able to interact with you more. Otherwise, be safe, and hopefully that's going to give you some hope. Take care. Bye for now.